At the age of 18, I lost my mother 7 months ago to cancer. Her illness lasted 3 years, and in the last 2 months it was revealed that my father had been maintaining an affair for almost the entire time she was battling the disease. This news completely devastated my mother. She found out in the last months of her life, and to make matters worse, my father's partner expressed her intention to remedy the situation before she left. As a result, my father was driven out of the house and my mother changed her funeral plans. She changed the will in an effort to make sure that I would get everything and not him. Mother arranged for my aunt to temporarily take custody of me. Father was denied this opportunity. She also clearly expressed her reluctance for him to start a relationship with anyone else during her lifetime. After her death, she tried to prevent her father from recreating a semblance of normality in his relationship with another person. This time after my mother's death has proven to be extremely difficult for me. I continue to overcome the daily challenges of life without her. In addition, I feel resentment toward my father for the harm he inflicted on my mother in the last months of her life. He made things much more difficult than they could have been, all because of his inability to remain faithful to her. He got engaged to his partner the week my mother died. They decided to postpone the wedding for a year in an attempt to save at least some of his reputation. My father and I have almost nothing in common. Everything I do with him is the result of his efforts and his offered helping hand. Recently, he expressed his desire that I should know of his engagement and attend a date with his new woman. These compulsions culminated the last time he and his partner decided we needed to talk. In response to their invitation to the wedding, I declined, explaining that I wasn't going to attend and didn't feel respectful enough to formally respond to the invitation. Their disappointment was evident, and they advised me to think about the future and other things. I emphasized that they should reconsider their plans. However, they tried to blame me by telling me the story of how she had been a widow for many years and her children had turned their backs on her, taking her grandchildren because of her decision to leave. It didn't move me, but my father's family resents me for putting such a hard line on the wedding. They are already aware that people are judging my father, thinking I should have been there. My dad even thinks I blame him for his relationship with my mom instead of appreciating the kind of father he was. Many family members have expressed the opinion that I should attend the wedding. They feel that my refusal is a mistake. This begs the question, am I the idiot that many family members are talking about? I assume these words are coming from your father's extended family. I doubt that such an opinion would be expressed from your mom's side. Their views, as far as I am concerned, are biased and therefore not worthy of consideration. The question arises as to the necessity of your presence at this wedding. It would seem that this event could be a kind of sad symbol of respect for your mom's memory. Add to this the absurd idea that your father's partner sought to establish a relationship with your mother. How can it be assumed that there is a right to approach a dying woman to introduce her partner and settle the situation, as if that could fix everything and provide a blessing? This woman's children refuse to interact with her because they are amazed at her behavior. I doubt it would change their views when confronted with more details about how she reacted, particularly annoyance over the fact that she was dating a married man whose wife was dying of cancer. I would have been shocked to hear such a thing and equally shocked to hear about the family pressure. It seems that taking part in a wedding is only possible if you are given leeway for the first toast, although I'm sure they are unlikely to want to hear you talk about the happy couple. Mimicking the actions of your father, who is learning to live without loved ones, seems like a good strategy to me. Exactly. I would take the opportunity to express everything I think about their story, then walk away and limit all contact with them. Their attempts to justify their own behavior while saving face are cruel to me. You deserve better than that, honey. My father's family tries to cover up his behavior, but as they say, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I'm truly sorry you're going through this. You deserve better. I hope you are given the space and respect you need to grieve and recover from such a loss of both parents. Now I want to tell a different story. My boyfriend, 26, and I, a 25-year-old woman, have been in a relationship for almost 3 years. Currently, we are looking forward to the birth of our first child, which is scheduled for March. We have always openly discussed the topic of marriage, so an engagement proposal would never come as a surprise to me. However, what made our case special was the fact that my boyfriend had no knowledge of jewelry, particularly what kind of ring might be to my liking. In the end, we decided to make a joint decision on the design of the engagement ring. I was very clear about my wishes for the proposal. I told him that I dreamed of getting engaged with my close friends and family, emphasizing that their participation in this event was extremely important to me. After ordering the ring, I was left in complete ignorance as to when it would be ready and when he would propose. Thus, I have just been waiting for this moment with excitement and anticipation. 2 nights ago, we decided to take our dogs out for an evening walk to the beach, which is close to our house and is a frequent destination of our walks. Sitting on the sand, we admired the sunset while our dogs played merrily in the ocean in front of us. After a while, he started talking about his love for me and how grateful he was to fate for our meeting. And then, taking a ring box out of his pocket, he asked me to marry him. The proposal came as a complete surprise to me, and I felt a slight shock when I realized what was happening. I hugged him, expressing my feelings, emphasizing how important he was to me and how deeply I loved and appreciated him. However, I couldn't say yes, explaining that it was extremely important to me to share moments like this with my close friends and family. His response was full of disappointment. He admitted that he wanted to create a more intimate proposal in an effort to keep this moment just for the two of us, as publicly expressing his feelings made him uncomfortable. In the days that followed, as I tried to make my point to him, I encountered his silent displeasure. While I understand his position, I had to take on the role of designer of our engagement ring because of his inattention to details such as the jewelry I prefer. I wanted the proposal to be something special, the result of his thought and effort. There are many known cases where women have turned down their partners because of a public proposal when they wanted something more personal. In such situations, usually everyone sympathizes with the woman and her preferences. In my case, the situation is the opposite, but the essence is the same. So I don't understand why my desire was met with the wrong response and I was left under the weight of accusations that I acted inappropriately. Your actions were perceived as inconsiderate and your words came across as rude. When you scripted the proposal in your imagination, you actually created a plan that was designed solely to fulfill your own expectations. You chose to follow a preconceived story in which every detail, every face was predetermined. In the process, you may have jeopardized the sincerity of the moment itself. The marriage proposal was a unique and unrepeatable event that he proposed to you. But after your rejection, that moment can no longer be recreated with the same purity of intention. The proposal includes not only your desires and expectations, but also his feelings and preferences. His desire for intimacy and privacy in this important moment has been ignored. Your actions may have appeared to him as an underestimation of his wants and needs. This creates a sense that your preferences are more important than what he wants and may portend further difficulties in planning joint events, including the wedding. The importance of including friends and family in the proposal is understandable, and their joy for you would be immense. However, you should think about the balance between what you want and what is possible, between personal preferences and taking into account your partner's feelings. A story that really surprised me. I am 27 years old and my wife is also 27. We have been together for 4.5 years and have been legally married for 2 years. Even before we got married, we both expressed our desire to have children. Shortly after the celebration, we began planning for an addition to the family. My spouse soon became pregnant. At that time, she had doubts about her readiness for parenthood. We discussed the matter. She expressed her reluctance to continue with the pregnancy, and I supported her decision, given that the decision rested on her shoulders. 3 weeks ago, she became pregnant again. I was enthusiastic, however, she continued to feel insecure. She asked me to wait some more time. While trying to discuss the timing, I was confronted with her indecision. She informed me that she was not ready for motherhood yet, leaving the matter open without further clarification. I did not seek to pressure her, but openly expressed my desire to become a father, emphasizing that I would need to rethink our relationship if she chose a different path. As a result, after her decision to terminate the pregnancy, I made the decision to initiate divorce proceedings sometime later. Our mutual acquaintances expressed the opinion that my action was wrong. My wife called me more than once in tears. I still have feelings for her, but it is of utmost importance to me to have children and create a complete family. She has shown uncertainty and has not made her desires clear, causing me to hesitate with her. Sometimes I think I have acted unwisely by separating from my wife because of this. No, do not consider yourself wrong in your actions. When two people are pursuing different goals in life, it's best to recognize that and move on. In the end, It's important to find someone whose desires and aspirations align with yours. If your partner does not wish to have children, that is their right. However, the problem arises when there is a lack of clarity and openness in communication, leading to unresolved issues and uncertainty. Having entered into a marriage with common goals, finding that those goals are not aligned due to insincerity can be frustrating, especially if attempts were made to have children that were later aborted due to one partner's insecurities. When both parties actively seek to start a family, but one of them changes their mind, it creates misunderstandings and questions to their true intentions. Repeating this situation can indicate underlying differences in your life plans and goals. It is important to be with those who share your aspirations and life goals. If you feel that your paths have diverged, seeking a partner with whom you have mutual understanding and common goals is a wise choice. The decision to break up can be difficult, but sometimes it opens the door to a happier and more fulfilling future with someone who is on the same page as you. Next story. My husband is now 30 years old and has had a difficult ordeal in his life due to a lack of maternal support. His mother left him at the doorstep of his father's home when he was only 5 years old. Encounters with his father were brief and infrequent. His father left him on the doorstep of someone else's home, after which the boy ended up in foster care. 7 months later, his mother fought to regain custody, only to place him in the care of her oldest daughter. At the time, the sister was 24 years old and had shown herself to be an oppressive and manipulative caregiver. Her presence in my husband's life was intermittent until his 19th birthday, after which she began to appear more frequently. When we met, he was 22 and still living with his sister. I had always resented his mother for her actions, but my feelings were finalized after the tragedy we experienced together. It happened after 5 months of living together when his mother came to visit us unannounced. At that moment, I was going through the loss of a child. She paid no attention to me, only pronouncing to her son that the disappearance of our child was for the best. Over the past 8 years, she has repeatedly humiliated him, trying to keep him close to her, despite his desire to leave and start a life elsewhere. Every time my husband is faced with a career choice, his mother persistently persuades him to abandon his plans. She insists that he work with her at a rehabilitation center where the pay is far from desirable. If he decides to sell one of his cars, she persuades him to give her the car as a gift. After the birth of our daughter, the relationship has only escalated. At a baby show, she reacted indifferently to my pregnancy. When the moment of labor came, she suddenly appeared in the room, focusing solely on her son and telling everyone that she had come to support him. She showed no interest in my condition or needs. After she ignored my request to leave, my husband, showing determination for the first time, demanded that she leave the room. That moment was a big moment for both of us, sparking my admiration. Now that our daughter is a few months old, my husband is thinking about launching his own business. Yesterday, when his mother found out, she suggested that he move to another state and get a job there, promising that he could then provide for us and invite us to stay with him. Keeping in mind previous events when she insisted he not leave the state, his mother's offer now seems just another attempt to distance him from me and our child. My husband does not seem to realize the background of her actions, as she has never directly expressed her dislike for me and has always masked her true intentions under a plausible pretext. I openly stated that my husband would not leave us for any prospects outside our state, to which she replied that it would be better for everyone, given more opportunities. In response, I wryly remarked that she probably wanted him to leave us, just as she had once left him. I emphasized the need to break this unhealthy bond with her by offering him a choice between us and his mother. After that, my mother-in-law immediately left our home, then called my husband, giving him an ultimatum. It was either me or her, threatening that if he stayed with me, she would disappear from his life forever. Now my husband avoids contact with both me and his mother, considering our behavior childish. He has condemned my words, claiming that I was being overly cruel and trying to portray him in an unfavorable light. My mother-in-law, who has difficulties with emotional attachment, very rarely interacted with our daughter. She held her in her arms for only a few minutes, stating that excessive affection would make the child too attached. Since then, she has shown virtually no interest in her granddaughter, despite frequent visits. Instead of spending time with his family, my husband often helps his mother around the house, distracting him from us. I'd recognize that my words were intended to provoke a reaction, hoping that it would encourage him to seek professional help. My husband even signed up for therapy, but his mother convinced him to cancel the visit, arguing that it was unnecessary and claiming that the problems between us were imaginary. In one conversation, when his mother suggested that he leave the family and move, my husband, to my surprise, agreed, seeing it as a good idea. My actions were motivated by a desire to open my husband's eyes to the seriousness of the situation. I intentionally touched on traumatic aspects of his past so that he could see the parallels between his decisions and the actions of his mother, who had once left the state, leaving him alone. Just as she had convinced everyone that her leaving was necessary for the common good, she was now trying to convince him that his leaving would benefit our family. My words were certainly driven by desperation and a desire to show him how critical the situation was. Yes, my approach was controversial and perhaps even flawed, but I was looking for a way to make him realize the dynamics at play. Hopefully, this will help him see the big picture and realize that it's time to make changes in his life and family relationships. Your mother-in-law is narcissistic, seeing her son as nothing more than a source of emotional nourishment. She fears that his starting his own family with you will deprive her of his attention and love. This woman is a masterful manipulator, showering him with torrents of love while at the same time getting him to lavish her with gifts such as cars while keeping him as close to her as possible. She also negatively influences his professional growth by discouraging him from trying to change his career path. For 8 years, this woman has skillfully sabotaged his efforts and aspirations and now seeks to distance him from the new family he has created. She tries to keep him from seeing the full picture and realizing her true intentions. In doing so, she tries to hide her aggressive ways by showing up at key moments in your life, such as the loss of a child, the birth of a baby, and the celebration of the baby's birth. But even in these moments, her true nature shows through, and she can't resist making rude remarks, such as implying that losing the baby was for the best, showing complete indifference to your pregnancy and everything that is meaningful to you. In all likelihood, your mother-in-law prefers not to engage in direct dialogue with you, choosing instead to please and manipulate her son. She has drawn him into a circle of narcissistic influence from which he has unknowingly become a victim. You, on the other hand, manage to remain rational and balanced, which is an invaluable quality in this situation. Your husband may be genuinely happy to have his mother in his life, not realizing that his life could have been much better without her toxic influence. Assuming your mother-in-law achieves her goal and destroys your marriage, she will probably reject her son when she no longer needs him. Your words may have been harsh, but they were prompted by the circumstances. Your husband continues to take a neutral position, avoiding the choice between you and his mother by staying out of the conflict. This situation needs to be addressed, and perhaps the best option is to accept your mother-in-law's offer to move out if it allows your family to start a new life away from her influence. If your husband is so susceptible to his mother's control, it may be up to you to take on the role of someone who will decisively cut this damaging binding cord to ensure the well-being of your family.